Hey there, and welcome back to the Flippin' Foxes. I'm Sherry, and I am a full-time reseller on eBay, Mercari, Posh, Etsy, uh, and I have been away for about the last 3 months. So if you've followed me in the past, I am still here. It's been a trying few months. Ups and downs, and I took a step back from doing any YouTube videos to focus on my business and if I was going to move it forward or if I was going to go ahead and shut it down. I know in a lot of my prior videos I was really down on eBay, was not doing well, and had really considered quitting altogether. I have since changed my mind on that. It took me really having to step away from complaining about it and just do it and play with different things and see what works. And it is starting to pick up. And I know we're gonna hit a slowdown again with summer coming. But a conversation with my son back in about January really made me realize, okay, I'm giving him advice, but I'm not taking my own advice. He was complaining about his job, and I told him, with every job you're going to go through ups and downs. You're either going to have to decide it's not the right job for you and move on to something else, or you're going to have to figure out how to make it work. So it's kind of what I had to tell myself, and I decided to stick with it, and I'm glad I did. I'm really happy about the way things are going now, and I'm not going to say that I'm massively selling, but it's picked up, and it's picked up because I have put more time into it. Instead of spending more time complaining about it and getting frustrated to the point where you don't want to list. Just realizing that, and I'm sorry if you hear that, I thought I turned the heaters down enough that they wouldn't come on, but it's really starting to get cold. We're getting a totally off base storm coming in, and the temperatures are dropping, so hopefully, pause that and I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I am back. I went ahead and shut it off. So with that, I am still here. I am still selling on eBay. And I'll get more into that in my future videos because I will start making these more consistently now that I firmly decided how I'm going to go forward. I've done a lot of playing with some of the eBay features, including the pay-per-click, and I know there's a lot of you out there that are going to say, oh, there's no way I would give eBay my money, more of my money. We already give them enough in fees. But let me kind of explain my thought process there. Having owned a brick and mortar store, I know that one of the main expenses that comes with it is advertising. And we lived in a small town, obviously not as small as where I am now, but I think it was about 35,000. And you still, even though you knew so many people in the town, you still had to do the advertising to get your services out there. Because there's still a large majority of people that didn't know we even existed. So I kind of look at it that way. Pay-per-click is putting your items out there in front of more people. And yes, is it eBay's ploy to get money? Well, of course it is. They're a business, and they're a huge corporation. So they're going to do what they can to bring in more revenue. And it's, as business owners ourselves, we have to decide if we're going to utilize it. And I did. About 3 weeks ago, I started really playing with it, and I was able to get enough data to figure out times of day, which days are better to run these pay-per-click promotions. And it really worked. I mean, the first day I did it, which I'm sure is just eBay's way of kind of sucking you in, which, of course I fell for it, but I'm okay with that because in the end, like I said, it is an advertising expense. It's deductible, So I put it out there, and it was my very first time. And I think I did $5. And it's kind of neat because you can do it based on dollar range, or you can do it based on item category, whether it's eBay's item category or your store categories. So you really can play around with it a lot and get a feel for what works better for your business model. So the first time I put it out there, I wasn't super familiar with it. I just wanted to kind of mess with it. And it automatically starts you at what it feels your pay-per-click amount should be. And I went through my money like that, and I'm like, oh, there is no way. Well, then I had to really look into it and realize that it was doing it at like 60 cents per click. Well, if you're doing $5, I mean, that money's gone in 5 clicks. About 7 clicks. It's gone. And I was like, oh, there's no way. So you do have the ability to change the amount per click. So I dropped it down to like 10-15 cents per click. And I did a dollar amount range because I wanted to get it on more of my higher dollar items because my profit margins on them are so much better. So the first time I did it, my sales just started coming in back to back. And I had not seen that kind of traction in my store probably for a good year and a half. So it was that little boost of, endorphins, I guess you want to call it. Because we all know when we hear the cha-ching, it's like, oh, hallelujah. And it gives you more incentive to list and get more stuff out there. So we went away one weekend, and not went away. I mean, we went up to Sioux Falls because we go up there to do a lot of our bulk shopping, and made a couple of days out of it. And I was running these while we were doing that because I wasn't listing as much. So I thought, okay, well, I know eBay will slow your sales down if you're not putting the listings out. So I think I put on an extra $5. And I came back after that couple of days, and I had so many sales, it took us hours to pack up, which was just amazing. So, playing with that, and now we're also starting to hit a time of year where sourcing is going to be a lot easier. I had tried during the winter to hit up our thrift store. There's only 2 thrift stores in the larger town from us, and they're horrible. Because there is no major department stores or malls around here, we are stuck with, Walmart, Target, and so that's what you find in our thrift stores. And Goodwill's prices to me are just ridiculous for mall brand, or for the Walmart and the Target brands. I'm not going to pay $5.99 for a Walmart shirt when you can go get it at Walmart for, $9.99. So it's just not worth it. So that became a little frustrating. So the auctions were becoming more and more our go-to sourcing. And now with the weather changing, we're going to start seeing I'm seeing a lot more locally come on. We were having to drive a little ways to pick stuff up. Facebook Marketplace around here is very difficult to source from because people are wanting to charge eBay prices. So it does me no good to go buy something locally. I'm not going to make a profit off of it. So now, with the season getting ready to change, sourcing is going to... So what I have figured out now is I'm really going to have to source from like April to September. Like, unfortunately, spend probably most of everything I have coming in is going to have to go right back out. So that when I hit these winter months, I've got, you know, the build up. And I've learned that from Grams and Pops Vintage, if you've ever watched them, because they're here in South Dakota too. And they do a lot of sourcing during the summer, spring, summer, early fall, so that they have enough to carry them through the winter time. So that's been a learning curve. You know, coming from California year round, you can find garage sales and thrift stores everywhere. So that has taken some getting used to here. But now, learning the lay of the land, so to speak, we're understanding more of what we need to do to keep our business running. I'm going to stick with vintage, primarily because I love it. I love learning about new things, and it's funny because I was watching Grams and Pops this morning, and they were talking about they had a really bad sell, that they wound up getting a bunch of items that were knockoffs locally. Like I said, I kind of stay away from local because I haven't found a whole lot around here. They may be in a better area for that, but we're just not here. And they were kind of poo-pooed, I guess, in the comments about, you know, why are you picking up stuff you know nothing about? Well, where we come from out here, you have to learn. And the only way to learn is to make these mistakes and to pick up things you may know absolutely nothing about, and you may get burned on some items, and, you know, it's all part of doing business. So, you know, when we owned the brick and mortar store, we would bring, you know, it was a packing and shipping company, but we would sell items as well, packing materials, you know, different things. And I would put things in the store that were like impulse buys. We had little flashlights on the counters and stuff like that. And some of them did great. Others were a complete flop. And this business is the same way. So you've got to figure out, you know, what works. And I'm trying to go more towards unique items. So when we get into these auctions, I really pick through the lots now. And you'll find sometimes I don't. I just bought a huge lot of salt and pepper shakers, vintage salt and pepper shakers. I was selective. I mean, this lady was a major shaker collector, and they probably had well over 2,000 shakers in this auction, but they had it broke down into probably 20-25 lots of anywhere from 15 to 20, you know, shakers in each lot. And so I was literally going through and lensing each shaker in each lot, and could pick out some that were worth paying, you know, the amount of money I did for the lots. And I don't pay much for these lots, anywhere from $6 to $10. So if you can get that off of one shaker, you're in the profit for the rest of what's in the lot. But I have really enjoyed learning about things I know nothing about. And that's the only way we can move forward in this business, is to get items in and do our research. Even if that research leads us to find out the item was a complete bust, it was a knockoff or whatever, as long as you can catch that before eBay catches it and shut your store down. You know, so when you want to come at resellers and say, well, why would you even want to sell that item? Remember, sometimes that's the only options we have, is to try new things, because we may be in areas where you can't get stuff you know more about. You have to go with things that you need to learn. And one thing I'm delving into it, I know nothing about, but I'm learning, is tools. Vintage and antique tools around here are in every auction, and they go for next to nothing. And I think they go for next to nothing because people don't know much about them, unless you're a collector, or, you know, or you have a machine shop. But I have gotten some amazing items that, once I started researching, are worth some pretty good money. They may be slow movers. They're getting views, and they may not sell right away. But my model is really not a quick flip. And I know that. Vintage is got to be the right person. So that was another thing I kind of had to wrap my mind around, is, you know, it may take me 2-3 months to sell something, but the amount of profit that I'm making off of that item is worth it sitting for a little while. So that's kind of where I am at. Part of the reason I stepped away too is I have had some medical issues. My husband has had some medical issues, and we just needed to get laser focused on one thing, instead of trying to do a bunch of little things and letting one suffer because we're trying to do the other. Now that I'm getting the business flowing again, I can get back to the videos. So I will be doing a what sold video in the next few days, and I'm going to kind of go back through some of the items in the last few weeks that have sold for pretty good profit. Some of the littles, you know, because I know I was told by so many, stop selling little items that aren't bringing you much. Well, those little items, if you sell enough of them, they're worth selling. You know, I sell 3 or 4 salt or pepper shakers for $15-20 a piece. That's $80, you know. It just kind of pads your numbers. And it gets people in looking at some of the smaller items that are less expensive, and then they see the other stuff you have. So now that we've gotten to that point, we will be moving forward on the YouTube side of it. At least I will. I do most of the editing, and he's been working so much, he's not able to do hardly any of this anymore. He helps me still with, you know, going through some of the items, the electronics and stuff, and testing them and stuff I just don't have time for. But for the most part, I'm doing most of this on my own. So bear with me, but I will be back. And, you know, I'm glad you have continued to follow me and haven't given up. And, you know I should have hopped on here quicker and just let you know I will be back, but I am here to tell you I'm back, and I am going to go in a different direction with some of the videos. I will still do our what sold videos, but I want to really kind of teach you what I'm learning. I'm not an expert on anything. I'm knowledgeable in a lot, but not an expert. And so if I get on here and I'm describing an item to you, it's what I've researched and what I have learned. And if you're an expert or you know more in the area, always feel free to comment below, because I love learning, and I'm not going to take it like you're telling me, you don't know what you're talking about, because sometimes I don't. I have this really cool item I want to show you guys, go over, and kind of takes me back to the 90s, I guess it was, and a term that came up in the 90s that I had no idea goes way back to the 1800s, but I learned that with an item, and I'll get into that on the next video. But so with that, I'm going to keep this kind of short today and just let you know to continue to watch out for more videos, because I will be getting them out there. I don't know how often, and I'm going to do it as I can. So but I'm not going to disappear for 3 months. They may be, I may get one a week in, I may get 3 or 4. It's just kind of going to depend on how I'm feeling and how much time I have with the business to put into the YouTube side of it. So with that, I will see you next time, and so glad to be back.